Welcome, everyone. The webcast is about to begin. Please note today's call is being recorded. Please stand by.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Rick Peterson from the American Statistical Association. I want to thank you for attending today. Just as a reminder, you can submit questions at any time during the presentation today using the chat feature you see on the left side of your screen. We'll try to save some time at the end for questions for our Q&A session. Excuse me. So I think we want to go ahead and get started. Oh, also one more thing. You'll be redirected after the webinar ends today to a survey. This is a new program we started, so we'd really like to get your feedback on that. So if you can fill out that survey, we'd really appreciate it. I think it's just 4 questions and an open-ended question. Open them to text box. So with that, I want to turn things over to Susie Gordon. Susie, if you will, please.
Greetings, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Susie Gordon, and I'm with the Congressional Management Foundation. I oversee congressional operations here. I know quite a few of the people who are on the phone, but there are some new folks with us here today, and I'm so glad that we've been able to reach a new audience. This is, as Rick pointed out, a brand new venture that we're trying. So I really want to thank both the American Statistical Association and the Center for Regional Economic Competitiveness. The presenter today will be Dr. Marty Remedy, and I'm going to turn it right over to him. But before I do, I just want to make a quick mention of some of the different programs that we do through the House Learning Center. We do have those 2 writing classes that are in person, and then a series of webinars. There's also a new Management 101 and a customer service class. So that might be something for those of you who are in management positions. You might be interested in taking those as well. In addition, we have a class that we launched last year for the first time. It's a brand new venture for us, and we're going to run that again, a legislative operations course for congressional staff. This will be particularly a great class for those of you on the phone who are either newer LAs or you're hoping to move up in your office to become a legislative director or a chief. This can really set you on the right path for that. We will be holding this 2-day class on September 18th and October 6th. In conjunction with the Government Affairs Institute at Georgetown University. Some of the topics that we cover are developing floor vote recommendations, working with executive agencies, creating an effective mail system. I'm sure all of you are buried in mail right now, and that just keeps on going up. But you know, you also have to work with the rules and the appropriations committees, and how they work can be difficult, and how to staff your boss when it comes to committee work. All of those are things that we cover in that course, and it is a 2-day course. We do have additional information about it on our website. So with that, I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Marty Remedy, and I'm going to again thank our partners who brought this together today, the Legislative Assistance Association, Congressional Management Foundation, and our friends at CREC, and the American Statistical Association. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Dr. Remedy, and thank you so much.
So thank you very much. Marty, I'm sorry. This is Steve Pierce. I'm Director of Science Policy, and I wanted for the American Statistical Association. And I want to say just a few words before about the ASA and about APTU and about this series. So if you don't mind, I'll be brief in these comments. Susie, thank you for that introduction. The American Statistical Association and the Association of Public Data Users are pleased to partner with the Congressional Management Foundation on this webinar. The ASA is a professional association of statisticians devoted to advancing and promoting the discipline and profession of statistics. APTU is a national network of users, producers, and disseminators of government statistical data committed to helping data users identify public data for their needs and bringing the perspectives of public data users to bear on important issues of government information. APTU and the ASA, along with a broad network of other organizations, are strong supporters of the federal statistical agencies. Their data, the foundation, the data, which is the foundation of evidence-based policymaking and data-driven decision-making, are widely used, with just two of their benefits being to help make government more efficient and to drive economic development. Indeed, with the vital role that congressional staffers play in supporting the evidence-based policymaking and decision-making process, we developed this webinar to help you with your very busy and important jobs. As today's speaker will say, what is provided in the next 15 minutes is only the tip of the iceberg for what the data of these three federal economic statistical agencies can provide. The three agencies provide many resources to facilitate the use of their data for you, but the ASA and APTU would be happy to help in this regard. I'm pleased to now introduce today's presenter, Dr. Marty Remedy of the Center for Regional Economic Competitiveness and APTU. A senior fellow at CREC, Dr. Remedy's projects include economic impact of studies of federal, state, and regional programs, as well as assessments of state incentive and expenditure programs. Formerly Director of Economic and Public Policy Research at the University of Massachusetts, Dr. Remedy has led dozens of studies and earned multiple national awards for research excellence. Marty, I'm delighted to turn the presentation over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you, Susie, as well. And good afternoon to everyone on this webinar. I'm Marty Remedy, Senior Fellow with the Center for Regional Economic Competitiveness, or CREC. CREC is a nonprofit based in Arlington, Virginia. And one of the principal things that we do is to work all over the country with states and regions on economic and workforce development initiatives. In particular, we're interested in working with state, regional, and local leaders on how to develop job-creating strategies. As we do this, we also want to incorporate the use of data so we can have data-driven decision-making and strategies being developed and implemented. So that's one important thing that we do. Another significant aspect of our efforts at CREC is we want to teach others how to use the data as well so they can better inform their own efforts. And we accomplish this mission by having several different associations that we help to manage. So I hope right now that you can see my title slide on your screen, Understanding Your District's Economy and Workforce Using Federal Statistics Data. You'll see the acronym down at the bottom of that slide, APTU, which stands for the Association of Public Data Users. And so CREC helps manage and staff APTU, which is a group very interested in federal statistics and how federal statistics can inform your efforts. And we also manage a group called the Council for Community and Economic Research, as well as the Labor Market Information Institute. So through these collaborations with researchers throughout the country working on economic and workforce development, we're able to share and best practices and help develop strategies. And lastly, what we really want to do, and the reason I'm here today and very excited to be here today, is that we want to talk about federal statistics and data available to diffuse that knowledge to help inform your efforts for congressional staffers like yourself. So to understand better what data is available to you and how you can access that data to answer very specific questions. And so in particular, I've titled the subtitle you see on your screen, the Federal Statistics Rapid Response Data Toolkit. In your roles, I know that you are asked to understand your economies of your states, your districts, and to answer very specific questions about your states and districts, often in a very limited amount of time. So what I want to do today, since like I said, we can go in many different directions, but what I really want to do today is expose you to some very effective web tools and data that you can use to answer your questions about your economy. Okay, so what are we trying to accomplish today? Our goal is to provide you a roadmap to find the key information about your state, district, or city. So I want to provide you with a few tips to answer common questions that you may be receiving about the economy of your states or districts. I want to show you and direct you to the right free resources, and I want to help you as well to interpret what you find when you grab these numbers off the website. I want you to be able to put them into context where you can answer your questions. And I also want to do some very practical exercises. It's one thing to show you the web tools or to show you a data point, but to actually have a chance to, on your end, to go to that website, grab that data as well, I think becomes the real valuable learning experience. And so I hope all of you have received, I think we said ahead of time, a list of web links that I'll be showing you today. So if you don't have those pulled up, I'll have the web addresses as we go through the slides as well. But definitely be ready to participate as we kind of move through this presentation. I will be saying that I've got the screen share on because I'm going to be flipping between slides, these PowerPoint slides, to actual live website demonstrations. So I'll kind of be going from slides up to the internet. I'm using Internet Explorer as the browser, and I would encourage you to use that browser as well. The different statistical agencies and web links I'm showing you do work in different browsers, but they have slightly different formatting. So I encourage you to kind of follow along and participate using Internet Explorer. And so with that, kind of up front, let's get started. So what I want to do today in this webinar is actually much like an infomercial here. We've got about an hour, and what I want to do is in less than an hour, I want to answer and have you answer with me 10 very specific questions or common questions that you may get about the people or the economy of your state or district. And I want to show you in that hour through available websites and web links just how easy that is or efficiently you can do this work. So we're going to answer 5 common questions you may get about the people in your state or district, including is our state's population growing? We'll answer that question in this webinar. How well educated is our population? Foreign-born? How do our wages stack up? How many older adults are still in the workforce? Likewise, we're going to cover 5 specific questions, answering 5 specific questions about our economy, including how healthy is our economy, how many unemployed people live in our area, largest industries, which industries pay the most, and what are our economic strengths. And so we'll go through each of these. So like I said, be prepared because here we'll start. One thing about the example, so we have quite a few people on this webinar spanning the entire country. And of course, to kind of make this a good learning exercise, what I've done is the example I'm going to carry through without is one particular metro area, Napa, California. Now, I chose Napa. Obviously, Napa, California is a beautiful place. But I chose Napa for a very particular reason. I think when you hear Napa, you instantly, or many people instantly think of the wine country and the wine industry out there. And it kind of sets the context for what I'm hoping we kind of discover in using data to inform economic and workforce. So you come in with a lot of preconceptions, the same may be said about your state or district as well, as to what really drives the economy. So today we're gonna follow through with the example of Napa and kind of see if those preconceptions or conceptions carry through. So let's start with census. So if you want to answer questions about people, you want to know about people in your state, in your district, the best source of data is the Census Bureau. And in particular, I want to show you 3 websites or web links that Census and web tools that Census has to help you answer questions. One's called Census Quick Facts, another American Fact Finder, and then very specific to roles in Congress, my congressional district. I can say that, you know, in being an economic and workforce researcher for many years, Census is an incredible source and wealth of information. But most commonly we know census through every 10 years the decennial census where we have the count of our population. But Census is running surveys and gathering information all of the time. And in fact, one of the best sources for economic workforce researchers like myself has been the rollout of the American Community Survey. So the American Community Survey is an ongoing survey, about 2.3 million surveys each year. And what this has really allowed is that we can maintain both the wealth of information, but also fresh information, which is so important to have timely information. So instead of having a snapshot of our economy every 10 years, we were able to kind of get an ongoing look of the economy. And in fact, you get annual new data annually for any place of more than 65,000 people. So the American Community Survey has been a great addition to regional economists, and I think you'll find it'll be very helpful to your work as well. The other thing about Census I want to compliment them on is that they've really, over the years, developed some nice web tools as well. I think I'm sure you run into it in your work as well. Sometimes the problem isn't that the information is lacking. Sometimes the problem is there's so much information. How do we read through it efficiently and get to that information that we really need and can use? These web tools, Census, QuickFacts, American Fact Finder, My Congressional District, I think you'll find do exactly that. So the first 4 questions about our people actually can be answered with Census QuickFacts. So let's do that. So let's find the answers to the first 4 questions. So if you're prepared, I'm going to click on the web link and join me as well in doing that. And hopefully what you're seeing in your screen is we're at the Census website for QuickFacts. And you'll see when you do that, that you arrive at a landing page that is populated with several different topical categories and also United States data for those topics. You can see there's a multitude from population down to economy, health. If you scroll down the page, you can see that under each one of those categories or topics, there are very specific data points. The real nice thing about this web tool, so in this case we're talking about Napa, California. Now, you can feel free to put in your own states or districts as I go through this. So like I said, I want you to kind of get a little hands-on experience. I'm going to show you Napa, but certainly you're free to do yours. So here's how we do it. So it's populated with the United States. One of the very nice things about QuickFacts is it's a table building protocol. So Napa's in California. So I want to make sure we get California. So go ahead and type that in and then select. And what it should do is it'll put California right next to the United States. Likewise, we want to type in Napa. And in this case, you get city or county. In this case, I selected the county, and it puts the table builds right next to it as well. So if you're with me, we have the United States, we have California, and we have our information for Napa County all next to each other. Now what we need to do in order to answer our question, is our state's population growing? We need to look at, we have our category population, and you see there are several different data points underneath it. Well, growing would be, you have to find a measure that basically reflects that, which would be population percent change between April 1st, 2010 and July 2016. So this category will become an indicator to answer, is our state's population growing? Much like how well educated is our population. So as you go down, you see education, bachelor's degree. So the idea is that for each of our questions, we're looking for a category and an indicator in a comparative context that helps answer that question. And so I've done that for you. I kind of wanted to show you the table building capacity for it. So let's go ahead and answer our question. So I've pulled out some data fields from QuickFacts that you just saw on the website. And when you put them next to each other, what we kind of find out is that for Napa, the population is growing slower than both the state and U.S. The U.S. had about a 4.7% population growth between 2010 and 2016. Napa about 4.1%. The Napa area is less diverse in population, less diverse than the state and U.S. Using the white alone category as an indicator. The foreign-born, as you can see, it has a slightly higher rate of foreign-born persons than the U.S., but less than California as a whole, as a total. It also has higher incomes and housing costs and an older population than the United States. So within just a very short amount of time, you can see we're able to really generate a lot of important information about our state districts and areas. All right, so let's move on. So we've answered the first 4 questions about our people, but we still have another question. How many older adults are still in the workforce? And so with this one, I wanted to show you, answer it with another census product that is called Fact Finder. So let's go ahead and click on the Fact Finder. And when you do, you'll come to this picture of a very happy family searching for data and happy that they found it. I want to show you, in this case, what's called the advanced search. QuickFact has some of the census data and some of the data they'll use most frequently. However, Fact Finder, American Fact Finder, has all of the data, and that's many, many thousands of data points. And so I wanted to show you, I know that some of you may be being exposed to this for the first time, but, there are just such a wealth of opportunity and data out there for you to help answer your questions. Advanced search, it basically runs off of table numbers. So as you get more and more familiar, you'll start to get very familiar with particular tables. And one of the tables that I want to show you is about the older population. So when you click on Advanced Search, you'll come to this guide box. And in this case, I want you to type in S0103. And what you get is population 65 years and older in the United States. Click on that, and then select Go. And what you should see now on your screen is population 65 years and older, 2015 ACS 5-year estimates. Again, ACS standing for the American Community Survey. Go ahead and check that box. And now let's click on it. And what you'll end up seeing is a new table populated again with the United States. And now look at this level of detail. So with QuickFact, you had a few, but look at all of the different types of data elements that are being collected by census. What we're seeing here for the United States, for instance, is that a total U.S. population, and then subsequently the population for those 65 years and older. So you actually see a comparison between the overall population and that small segment that's 65 years and older for all of these different data points. Now let's go back to our example to answer our question. So once again, on this you have an Add Remove Geographies tab. So please select that, Add Remove Geographies. At that point, I'm going to pull out my screen share a little bit to the end of the page here so you can see the entire site. Okay, so within that, let's type in again California. Select California. Now you need to hit Go, and then you'll need to select it again. So one of the little tricks just to let you know is, unless it comes up in your geography selections, you want to make sure that this box lists the geographies that you want in order for it to show the table. So hit the Show Table, and the United States is now replaced with California. So these are very specific total population and 65 years and older data for California. Now again, it's a table building feature, so we can once again, if you select Add Remove Geographies, and let's go back and add, in this case, our example carrying through is Napa. You can certainly do your own states or districts or areas now, but let's use Napa County. Once again, hit Go. Select it again, so it adds to the table. So now we've got both California and Napa in our geography selections. Now click on Show Table. And very nicely, this tool, again, puts them side by side so you can really get some contextual comparison. Now, You could go back again and add the United States. You could go back in again, select a different geography. You could select your area or your county and put it in next to Napa if you want. So it's nice because it'll keep building out your table. But in this case, we're trying to answer our question about how many older adults are still in the workforce. So this table essentially has that information. As you go down, you can see as veteran status for 65 and older, place of birth, income, characteristics down to rents. Here's employment status. So this would be kind of the answer our particular question. Now, it's maybe hard to read on this slide or on this website, so let me pull back up again my slides and I'll show you. So this is pulling exactly from that table you just saw. So again, I kind of pulled out some selected different data elements for that in order to understand our older population within Napa. So here's what we kind of can see in the side-by-side. So in one case, if you look at Napa 65-year and older population in California, you'll see that Napa lived in different houses, residents, a year prior to that. It's kind of interesting that with the income, the area has more working older adults with more retirement income. So you can see the mean earning, for instance, where my pointer is at, is $63,000 for those 65 years and older in California, so $78,000 in Napa. And another one I pulled out is that compared to the state as a whole, those 65 years and older in Napa live less frequently with their grandchildren or are the primary caregivers for their grandchildren. So those are some of the facts that we pulled out. So now we've completed all 5 of those using those 2 websites. I have a third one, if you'll recall, and that's specific to your work in Congress, my congressional district. You know, not only do requests come for data and information from your bosses themselves or from constituents, but the news as well. You know, every day there may be a newspaper article that brings up some fact that triggers some kind of request for information about how that's playing out in your district. So, for instance, several months ago, there was a story in Bloomberg about Mingo County, West Virginia, having one of the highest unemployment rates in the country. And there was a long story done on it, and as you can see, one of the graphics in that story used the American Community Survey. So now that you've seen and used the ACS data yourselves, you can understand where that's coming from. But essentially, reporters were picking out information from the ACS in order to talk about Mingo County, West Virginia, compared to the U.S. So let me show you a little bit how that would work. So let's take the example of Mingo County, West Virginia, which is in the 3rd district in West Virginia. And with you, if you can either bring this up or type in this web address, census.gov myCD. I'll click on it now. And this takes you to a very specific Census Bureau product specifically for your work, which is my congressional district. So when you land on this page, you can see you have selections. So let's make a selection, in this case of West Virginia, but please do your own states or districts at this time. So we have West Virginia, and then like I said, Mingo sits along the border in District 3, just down from Huntington. And so when you select those 2, as my computer's thinking, I'll do a refresh, or maybe I'll hit it too hard at one time. Well, fortunately, if you got it up on yours, I wasn't able to pull it up on mine, but I do have a screenshot. So what you end up having is something that looks like this. So you will get an entire list of data elements for people specific to the boundaries of the district. which, as you saw with some of the data, you're only getting at the county level, the metropolitan level, or the state level. In this case, this is very customized to your district. In addition, it has data for workers, housing, socioeconomic, education, and business. So it has just a wealth of indicators. I'm going to try it one more time here. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to make you aware of that. Fortunately, we don't have to answer any questions based on that, but you do go through. The one thing about it, I'll say, is that the only problem you'll run into is they'll give you the most current information for your district in each of those category areas, but you're not able to do the table building like you saw previously with the other census website. So, but it will give you very specific information that I think you'll find useful. If you're having the same problem as me, if we're jamming up the system here, if you're having the same problem as me, then try it out a little bit later. But I'm going to go ahead and move forward in our slideshow. Okay, so we've answered questions, our 5 questions about people. Now we want to turn our attention to the economy. Now, one of the best sources and premier sources for information on both industries and workers is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And so I want to show you in particular 2 web tools available from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that really help you answer a lot of questions about your economy as well as about workers in your area. Those are Economy at a Glance and also the BLS Data Tools. So let's move forward and answer the first 2 questions about our economy. How healthy is my economy, and how many unemployed people live in my area? And for those 2 questions, we're going to use Economy at a Glance. So Economy at a Glance includes the latest from the Bureau of Labor Statistics economic data, so it's constantly refreshed for that timely information. And it also allows for state and metro area detail. So clicking on that, we come to this landing page. Now, you can either use the map itself to find your location, or you can use a scroll down. So I like using the map. I think it just it's kind of easy and straightforward. And when you do that, clicking on this case for California, you come to an area where here are all your specific metro areas, including Napa, which is our example. In this case, Napa County is the metro area, so the county and metro area are the same. In other places, the metro areas include multiple counties. So let's click on Napa, or if you're following along using your own district, click on your own nearest metro or the metro, largest metro in your district. And what you end up having is an information about the latest releases in terms of your unemployment rate, how many people are employed, the size of your labor force, as well as changes in jobs within your area. So what this is saying is that in the latest data available, which is June 2017, the Napa metro area, which is Napa County, had 75,000 workers in its labor force. Of those, 72,300 were employed, 2,700 of those in the labor force were unemployed, giving an unemployment rate for the Napa area of 3.6%. So down here below, then you can start seeing that job breakout by major economic sector specific to that area. So total non-farm employment change, so what this is saying is the number of jobs in the last 12 months, the percentage change was 3.2%. So basically they added 3.2% in the number of jobs. Now, is that good? Does that mean your economy is healthy? We know how many unemployed people we are, but does that make us healthy? So in order to do that, you have to develop some type of context. And so the context we've been using is kind of comparing that to the state. One thing I did want to show you real quickly is that this is a very nice feature. You see the back data feature where my pointer is at. If you click on that, you get historical data all the way back to 2007. So not only is it an easy way to get your current, recent economic information, it's also a way that you can kind of grab, if you're kind of into data analysis, or you're very interested in that, you want to try some yourself, you're able to grab and download this data, and you can do a lot more trend analysis and other types of analysis as well. So let's go ahead and go back and look at California, the state itself. So the California data is populated here, and it's structured the same way. However, I did want to show you one specific thing that you have to be careful of. You'll notice that there are a number of notes listed on this. For instance, note 1 says number of persons in thousands seasonally adjusted. P stands for preliminary data, which basically means that it might be revised, so that number might change. So sometimes we gloss over the notes pretty quickly, but it is important to understand the nuances of the data. Even though we're kind of doing an overview of some of the basic data, we still have an issue here. So what I want to show you is, if you were to grab the unemployment rate and basically say, okay, we knew the unemployment rate in Napa was 3.6, the state's 4.7, we have to be a little bit careful about this, because in this case, the state data, as you can see, it says seasonally adjusted. If we go back to the Napa data and look at that note, it'll say not seasonally adjusted. And that's an important distinction because, for instance, construction workers rise and fall at the time of year, retail people around Christmas time rise and fall. So seasonal adjustment tries to smooth out those trends. Not seasonally adjusted is just giving you the raw job number. So it's not an apples-to-apples comparison in this case. And so you have to be very careful about that. And in this case in particular with California, fortunately what you can do is you can click on that hyperlink, and then you would go down and you can find the not seasonally adjusted data. So I just wanted to point that out. I don't want to spend a lot of our webinar time on that kind of nuance, but just to let you know, those notes are available, glossaries are available, and that's very important as well to follow along. So I went ahead and grabbed those for you. And so in the labor force for Napa, here are those figures. We had about 2,300 jobs increase, the growth rate of 3.2%. The not seasonally adjusted data for California was 2.1%. I also went ahead and added Mingo, West Virginia. And in this case, the level of detail does not go down to a county level. It stays at MSA. Mingo is not actually in the Huntington MSA, but it's so close to it, that would be the next closest metro area that you could get data for. And I think in many cases you have to think that way about trying to understand the regional labor market and the connection of Mingo to Huntington. So in this case I use Huntington as a proxy. And as you can see, in that case, the unemployment rate in Huntington was ahead of West Virginia. However, the job growth rate was better in the Huntington area than all of West Virginia for that past year. And so with that, you can kind of answer questions about how healthy your economy is with the major economic indicators coming from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So here we are. We've answered 7 of our 10 questions. We're still under our hour for the webinar, so we're making very good time. Hopefully you're starting to see that there's some great tools out there to get data very efficiently. So let's go ahead and move to the last 3 questions of our 10. What are our largest employing industries? Which industries pay the most to workers? And what are the economic strengths of our area? To answer those, we're going to use BLS.gov data and something called the QCW Data Viewer. QCW is an acronym for Quarterly Census of Employment and Wages. I think, as you see, this Data Viewer is an excellent web tool put out by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They're going to be able to help us answer those final 3 questions. So first of all, let's click on bls.gov.data. I think you'll have a chance to get a recording in these slides as well after. So at the bottom of the page, it's a long address, too long to type in for the webinar, but I think the Data Viewer is such a valuable tool that I want to make sure you have it to go directly to. But let's find it from the main page of BLS. So when you go to bls.gov.data, you're here at the home page. I want you to click on Data Tools. So join me at bls.gov, click on Data Tools. And when you do that, you're going to see a whole host of different types of data categories where the Bureau of Labor Statistics collects data, including inflation, employment, unemployment, projections, productivity. Just, again, another federal statistical agency that has such a wealth of data. So in this case, we're interested in our employing industry. So let's go ahead and click employment. When you do that, it brings you down the Data Tools page to the different types of data sets. And now, as you see, you have selections of employment hours and earning at national, state, and metro level details. Remember, I mentioned that we're looking for QCEW. The CES, these are all different data programs, data collection programs run by BLS. So we're looking for QCW, and here it is, state and county employment and wages. I want you to go over and click on tables. We'll click on the icon for tables, and it'll bring you to this landing page, which you saw on my slide. So I'm going to run through, again, the Napa example. You're welcome, again, to use your own areas to kind of see the difference. But what I want you to do is kind of follow this procedure. So I want you, right now it says all counties, one industry. What I want you to do is make selection 8 under NAICS industries by geography. It's labeled NAICS subsectors, one area. If you're not familiar with NAICS, it stands for the North American Industry Classification System, and it really is a way that we take each individual businesses and the workers in those businesses, and we basically assign them a code or a economic sector name using a number code as well. And that enables us, or enables BLS and others, to basically maintain consistent descriptions of our economy and the economic sectors that we have. And number 8 would be considered a 3-digit NAICS level. So I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but you want to be careful about going too detailed. The more fine you get your geography, like you want to go down all the way to county, the more specific you try to get with your industries at the lower geographies, a lot of times there won't be data available, and that data will be suppressed, meaning that it won't be reported because there's too few employees or there's too single of an employer. So by choosing number 8, you're going to get good information, or at least you're going to get good information about your economy and make sure you have that data. The other thing I want you to do, so we have 2016 is the most recent. You can get the data either by quarter or annual. In this case, in really trying to understand your economy broadly, or specifically where your sector strengths are at, I suggest that you use annual averages. So please click annual averages. We'll keep it at private industry. Now, in the search area, this is where you would type in. In my case, I'm going to type in Napa, and as you can see, it brings me right to it. You can type in whatever area you want to look at. And then the last thing I want you to do as you're following along is go ahead and click this little box down here that says Show Records of Suppressed Employment. So basically, it'll let you know if there were industries in your area that you're looking at where they didn't have enough data to report it, what those industries were, just so you have some idea. So now that you've got all of that clicked, we want to get the table. Okay, so here's what you come up with. You can see you end up with a table that includes a number of different categories, including establishments, which essentially means the number of businesses, the employment level, total wages, both weekly then and annual, which is important for understanding the quality or the level of payment being made in different industries for your area, which helps you with workforce strategies. And then I'll come back and talk a little bit more specifically about what location quotients mean. But our question really was, what are the largest employing industries, in this case in Napa? And so BLS has included a nice filtering, so I can click this and get it in ascending or descending order, so I can immediately filter and see that beverage and tobacco product manufacturing, which includes the wine industry, obviously, through beverages, is the largest employing industry there. Food services and drinking places is the second. Accommodation is third. So a lot of that you can see when you start to look at it, the wine industry bringing in the tourism is being reflected in those types of jobs. So in many cases you're saying, yes, you can see the influence of Napa's wine industry. But what the employment also does is start to show you things maybe that you hadn't thought were strengths in the area. For example, you see there's quite a bit here in especially trade contractors, healthcare, and professional and technical services, which would include a lot of computer programming services, architecture. So just by a simple sort of employment, you can really start getting an understanding of where your concentrations in your employment are at. And you could do the same with some of the others. So let's, for instance, say, okay, well, it's one thing to have large employment. How about the wages? So let's go ahead and if you're following along, let's filter by wages. Well, in this case, it's not the wine industry directly that's really supporting the higher paying jobs. In this case, in Napa area, utility work. So if you work in the utilities industry, you have the highest annual average wages per employee, followed by insurance and then data hosting. So as you start to look at your economy kind of in different ways, you can really start to get a more holistic picture and some better understanding that you can deliver both to your boss, to your constituents, as well as your district. So let me jump back to the slides real quick. So we went through the mechanics of using the data viewer, and we also talked about the sort feature and the fact that you can download this data, and in Napa County, the wine industry does lead the way. We looked at which industries paid the most to workers, which wasn't the wine industry. And so our final question was a little bit about economic strength. And so those last two categories, if you recall, on the actual web viewer, table viewer, it says the word location quotient. Now, location quotient may not be a calculation that you're familiar with, but it's used frequently in regional economic and workforce studies. And so BLS has really helped out by including that in that. So what is a location quotient? Well, LQs measure the relative concentration of a given industry in a given place. What it's really saying is it's looking at things like either employment, wages, some other economic measure of significance. And it's looking at, let's take the example of jobs. It's looking at how many jobs you have in a particular industry in your area, and then it's using the national level of jobs in that area as a measure of how concentrated, with the idea that if you have significantly higher percentages of jobs in a particular industry than the U.S. economy, that really indicates that you have a competitive advantage or specialization in that. That is an economic strength. And so, like I said, it's a calculation dividing your region or area's proportion of jobs, wages, other economic benefit to the nation, a comparable national statistic. So let's go ahead and use the LQ sort. So I'm going to jump back out here to the calculator. So here we are again, back at the table viewer that we were at. And let's go ahead, and here's your employment. You can sort location quotient by either wages, which tells you where your businesses are paying higher level of wages. But let's go ahead and do employment first. So this is where the job concentrations for Napa are at. So I hit the sort feature, and what it tells me is make 73312, which again is the beverage and tobacco product manufacturing. So like I said, covering the wine industry that we're familiar with for that area, which had the highest employment, also has the highest location quotient. Now that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, as we'll see, but in this case, both your jobs and the concentration of those jobs are the highest for this area. So what does a number 73.84 mean in this case? Well, as you interpret a location quotient or interpret this column on the table on the web, what that is saying is that in Napa, California, there is almost 74 times the number of workers in beverage manufacturing there than what you would expect given the U.S. average. So without a doubt, you know, this is an incredible concentration of jobs in the wine industry in the U.S. because for us regional researchers like I am, generally we're telling regions or localities that anything that you have a location quotient of 1.2 or above is indicating that you have some specialization in that area. So now let's look down this column. So beverage manufacturing, enormous. Scenic and sightseeing transportation, again, in this case, 372 jobs. So not the most jobs, but relative to the national concentration of jobs in the same industry, it's more than 20 times higher. Then you're still getting agriculture, crops, so accommodation. So all of those are telling you that you have a cluster, an industry cluster of jobs and activity being supported by this massive wine industry that are, you know, is incredibly important to the whole economy of your region. But what the LQs also show is that, you know, you get down to some of these and rental and leasing services, waste management. So it's very much intelligence. I mean, you have this table here that gives you incredible intelligence about your economic strength right at your fingertips. Likewise, when you get below 1, that's basically saying you have a lower concentration in the U.S. economy. Therefore, it's not necessarily an economic strength. However, you can look at growth trends, for instance, which we often do to kind of look at where emerging areas of opportunity might be. So all of that comes out of, all that context comes out of this measurement and this web tool provided by the BLS. I just quickly did it on wages. So again, wages are significantly higher in that industry and kind of follow along as well. So I get excited about LQs, probably more than most people do, but I do want to point them out because, like I said, it's an incredibly powerful calculation that you can bring back to your work. So guess what? We're still below the hour. We've answered all 10 questions, but much like an infomercial, since we have a couple minutes left, I want to do the, but wait, there's more. If you act now, we've answered 10. I want to mention one more or a couple more really valuable tools for studying the economic and workforce. And those come from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, BEA. You know, together we call Census, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and the Bureau of Economic Analysis the big three. Because for us economic and workforce researchers at the regional and local level, we really count on those three federal statistical agencies to provide us with great information and consistent information over time. So I wanted to mention DEA before we ended our webinar for today. The landing page is at dea.gov. They provide, most well known for providing the GDP or gross domestic product number, which is the broadest measure of economic health for the United States, but they also do GDP estimates for the state and metro areas. They also calculate personal income, and they include employment, including sole proprietorship. So they have a really great level of information. Let me quickly click on DEA website. You can join me with that as well, and you can kind of see that. Again, here you've got not only, you know, we've been talking a lot about the district and state economy, which is the focus of this webinar, but, you know, they have national and even international type data that, you know, might be helpful to your work as well. On our focus today, we're really kind of concentrating on the regional, so you can see the different types of regional information they have. And so I wanted to just show you a couple of things that will be helpful to you. They have an interactive data site So again, another federal agency that's done a nice job of not just collecting information, but trying to put it in a way that's accessible efficiently to you. So under regional data, you can see you can get GDP and personal income data. So let's build a quick little table here. You can do tables or you can do mapping. Let's do a mapping this time. We haven't done one yet. So if you're following along, click on the mapping. You'll kind of get this idea of here's your different categories of map. Let's go ahead and do the gross domestic product by metropolitan area. So again, you can get personal income and employment by county, as you can see. GDP, though, goes down just the metro area. Then we click on that, and you get choices. You can get per capita, per person, real, basically trended over time. Let's just get raw current dollar values. You know, BEA allows you to do a map customization of colors, and so here you are being able to get the information and also pull it into a graphic, which is important, I know, if you're putting together written reports or memos. You can select multiple years. You would just hit the control key, but in this case, I'm just going to, since we don't want to run over our time, I just wanted to do pretty straightforward. And there you have it. So we made our own selections, and then it ends up giving you ranges. So what are really nice things, let's go out and find NAPA. It'll be kind of tucked in here a little bit. And here's San Francisco. There we are. All right. So about $9 billion economy out there in NAPA. So when you do that, you can kind of place the $9 billion on a scale, you know, and so you can start to see peer groups, or if you're looking at, you know, well, maybe I don't want to compare myself to the state or nation. Maybe I'm going to look at other rural areas or other areas with a similar economy to mine. You know, this map feature helps you draw that out. So here's that kind of just, you know, cut and paste that map or copy and pasted it right into my slide. So you got great data tools and the regional information. I did want to show you one last BEA item before we're done, and that's called Bear Facts. BEA regional fact sheet, kind of clever Bear Facts. This is an interesting one that they have, and I'll show you why. So if you have that loaded up or you want to follow me along, let's do BE.gov regional Bear Facts on the click. And what you end up getting is the landing page that looks like this. You can pick state, county, or metro area for Bear Facts. I'll stick with metro since we've been doing that for quite a while. You can do a map selection or a drop-down selection. So here's NAPA again. So what I like about Bear Facts and what's interesting about Bear Facts is not only does it give you the data, but they've done it where it puts it into a narrative already. So what you see here is not only do you have the chart, but you have a narrative in Bear Facts. NAPA is one of 382 metro statistical areas. It gives you the ranking for it as well as the numbers. So right away, BEA is helping develop that context that's so important for answering questions about your economy and workforce. So, real quickly on the slide, I kind of pulled that out. And essentially what we find out from Bear Facts about NAPA is that its per capita income is about 25% more than the U.S., and that's trended up to 28% by 2015. So you can kind of see the trend line built in there. Not only that, NAPA in terms of earnings, transfer receipts like Social Security or dividend interest and rent, are all higher than the U.S. So NAPA is growing faster than the U.S. So at the end of the day, the wine industry, we discovered what our preconception held, that the wine industry was incredibly valuable to the area. However, there were other industries that were important contributors both to economic strength as well as wages in particular, and that the area has been relatively healthy and robust in its growth. So I thank you. I know that we only have a couple minutes left before the top of the hour and the end of the webinar. It may have been felt like drinking a little bit through the fire hose. Like I said, we covered those 10 questions plus our bonus BEA, but I can assure you this is just the tip of the iceberg. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you'll have a chance. Like I said, the idea was to introduce you to some of these tools and kind of show you how you can grab some data quickly and efficiently to answer some questions. But there is so much more that can be done in developing out the economic and workforce analysis. And so we'll have to leave it here for today. I thank you for that, and I think we'll send it back over and see if there are any questions in the last minute.
Well, Marty, this is Brad Fitch with the Congressional Management Foundation, and I just want to thank you. I think the only thing that we should have coached our attendees to do is to get a good bottle of wine before the program, which I thought would have been very helpful, not only for the content connection, but my head hurts a little bit. I mean, that was just so much rich data and so much rich information and websites that I, frankly, even after 13 years on Capitol Hill, did not know existed. So for those legislative assistants and LDs that are on the webinar here today, I want to thank all of you and our host organizations for conducting it, and also thank the Legislative Assistant Association for collaborating with us on this program. We'll be doing future programs with the LA Association this year before the end of the year to give you more professional development. And again, as we noted at the beginning of the program, we do have an open enrollment period right now for the Legislative Operations class that the Congressional Management Foundation conducts in concert with the Government Affairs Institute. If you go to our training page at congressfoundation.org, you'll see that. Again, Marty, thank you very much for an informative and outstanding presentation, and we look forward to future collaborations with you and your colleagues. Thanks again, everyone.